Hello, YouTube community. It's Robert S., and welcome to my channel, Robscure Music, where I hope to introduce you or reacquaint you with some of the lesser-known artists and or albums that are out there in the musical universe. And today, I'd like to talk to you about a group called Days of the New. Days of the New is an American rock band that was formed in 1995 in Charlestown, Indiana, which is a small town on the southeastern border of Indiana and Kentucky. In fact, not too far from Louisville, or Louisville, however you pronounce it, the Derby City. And it was formed by Travis Meeks, and he really formed this as a solo project with acoustic guitar, but soon added three more musicians to the group. He had another guitarist called Todd Whitener, Jesse Vest on bass guitar, and Matt Towle, who played drums. And with this lineup, they actually had released their first album in 1997, self-titled Days of the New. And this album is often referred to as the Yellow or Orange album. For obvious reasons. And it was recorded in Woodland Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was actually produced by Scott Litt. And Scott Litt is a producer who worked with REM on most of their well-known albums and also on many of Nirvana's singles. And Days of the New is sort of in that wheelhouse. To me, they sound a lot like the acoustic Nirvana, perhaps a little like Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. Definitely, I'm hearing Pearl Jam in this. So if you're a fan of those groups of the late 90s, Days of the New, this particular album, it was big in the late 90s. And this album actually produced 3 singles. The first one is called Touch, Peel, and Stand, and that actually reached #1 on the rock charts. Another single was Shelf in the Room, and the third one was The Downtown. Both of those reached the top 40 on the charts, so all in all, a pretty successful debut album by the band. And when the band began appearing on various television shows and began touring to promote the album, almost immediately there were some rifts in the group. Travis Meeks, I guess, didn't see eye to eye with the other 3 musicians. He made some comments that pretty much made it sound like, this was always intended to be his sort of solo project, and the 4 of them were not a band per se. So unfortunately, they split up, and the other 3 members, Todd Whitener, Jesse Vest, and Matt Towle, they actually went on to form a group called Tantric, and they issued their debut album, which went platinum. So they did pretty well for themselves. Tantric is still around, but Jesse Vest and Todd Whitener are actually no longer in that group, and they formed their own group. I believe it's called Blitzkrieg, not Blitzkrieg, Blitzkrieg. But anyway, getting back to Days of the New. So after this album, Travis Meeks went on to produce and record another album, which he released with the same name, Days of the New. It's a fine album, but it didn't reach the success of this particular album. And this album, let me just show you the track listing there. It's got a number of fantastic songs. Shelf in the Room, which leads off this album, it was one of their singles, and basically it sort of sets the tone for the rest of the album. The acoustic guitars, the vocals, which are a little bit distorted in the chorus, the musicianship. I mean, you hear, like I said, that sort of Nirvana, Pearl Jam sound to it, and you realize, what's to come. But they have a surprise at the end for us. Second song on here is Touch, Peel, and Stand. As I mentioned, that was a single that reached #1. And this is a song that really has that Nirvana feel to it, in my opinion. And I think that the drumming and the cymbals in particular really make this song, but the guitar solo in it is cool as well. So fantastic 1-2 punch right away when we start this album. The other notable songs that I think are fantastic on here are Solitude, the Downtown, obviously, was a single. What's Left for Me, Whimsical. Whimsical is a great song on this particular album. Where I Stand, and the last song, which is called Cling. Now, Cling was actually a home demo by Travis Meeks, and it's about roughly 6 minutes, maybe a little more, 6:10, 6:15, somewhere in that ballpark. And as the song comes to an end, you realize this isn't over. And you look perhaps on your CD player and notice that last song is 15 minutes. Yes, there is a hidden track, a bonus track, what they refer to as the boner track. So at around the 8.5 minute mark, you hear birds chirping. And I'll never forget the first time I heard it, I actually thought that there were birds outside my window that were chirping, singing a little song. And then I realized, no, that's actually coming from this CD. So that goes on for about 30, 40 seconds. Sounds of nature. And then the acoustic guitar comes in. And it takes us on a nice trip. Sounds really good. And then the thunder rolls. Thunder. And you wonder, what is going on here? I've got sounds of nature, I've got an acoustic guitar. What comes next? Well, what comes next is bongos. Yes, bongos. So you've got the acoustic guitar, you've got the bongos, you've got more sounds of thunder, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm enjoying this ride, and it's a fantastic ride. And honestly, by the time they finish this song, you realize I may have just heard one of the best songs on this album. Yes, one of the best songs on this album. So I encourage you, if you like Nirvana, if you like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, take a listen to Days of the New debut album. Fantastic from start to the incredible finish. So that's it for today. Stay well, and remember, if the music strikes a chord, let it play.